So many star players have been just horrible to start this season. Guys like Julio Rodriguez, Francisco Lindor, Garrett Crochet, Raleigh, and so many more have been just completely awful. So I'm going to help you guys answer the question, is it time to panic yet about these players? But before we get going, if you guys are not already, please subscribe to the channel down below. Don't forget to drop this video a like, sound off in the comments, and as a reminder, channel memberships are live. If you click that membership button right down there on your desktop browser and become a member, you can ask me personalized questions about your team, your league, anything you want specifically. But all right, now let's get going into it. I have about 40 players here who I'm going to go through relatively quickly and give you guys a snapshot to let you know if you should or should not be panicking about them. And first up, one of the biggest stars in the league, Julio Rodriguez. I just want to say blatantly right now, do not panic about Julio Rodriguez. It's a very annoying thing, but he does this every single season. Look at this table right now for Julio Rodriguez's stats in his career in the months of March and April versus the rest of the season. It's just something that happens. I don't know if it's about the cold. I don't know if it's about his preparation. He comes out of the gate slow. Happens every year. He's going to get blazing hot down the stretch. This is probably stopping him from his true superstar potential, but carry on. This is normal. Now, next up is Garrett Crochet. He's probably the guy in this video I'm going to speak about the most just because there's actually a lot of interesting things happening under the hood with Crochet, and he's coming off the worst start of his career against the lowly Twins, where he got rocked for 10 earned runs, was yanked in the second inning, got just demolished, especially against right-handed batters, where there was tons of hard contact, multiple home runs, and this is kind of the root of my concern for Crochet. Not exactly full-blown panic, but there's relative concern based on who we believed he was at the beginning of the season. Crochet is now in the midst of a 2-year trend where he's been dropping his arm angle. It was 38 degrees 2 years ago with the White Sox. It was 35 degrees last year in his first season as a Red Sox. And so far this season, it's down to 30 degrees. So again, the arm angle keeps going down and down and down for Crochet. And I think he's had some pitch movement consequences as a result of this. Mainly, his cutter is moving an inch less to the glove side on average. In layman's terms, that cutter has less cut. And usually that pitch sits between 91 and 92 miles per hour. He was dropping some 89s in there against the Twins. His fastball is also moving an inch more to the arm side. So against right-handed batters, that's a pitch that has a greater tendency now to bleed over the middle of the plate. And I'm concerned specifically with these two pitches and the difference in their pitch movement because those are how Garrett Crochet has always gotten righties out. He'll jam them inside, he'll lean on them, he'll make them feel very, very uncomfortable in that bat against a left-handed pitcher where usually they feel a little bit more comfortable. So when both of those pitches are fading the opposite direction, it does make life a bit easier on right-handed batters and lets those pitches bleed into the heart of the plate more like it did against the Twins, a big reason why he got blown up in that start. Also, some other quick pitch movement stuff just before we move on with Crochet. His changeup is moving a bit more to the arm side, but he barely throws it. In general, his velocity is down on both his fastball and his sinker about a tick, but we can chalk that up to early season shaking the rust off. And in general, his stuff plus is down basically across the board. So again, I think these are just some consequences of his arm angle change, which I think he's doing in an attempt to stay healthy. I don't know. He seems like he's been ahead of the 8 ball for the last 2 years with his health, which is great. There's no panic here, but again, seeing some of these pitch movement changes does give me some cause for concern, and maybe it doesn't leave Garrett Crochet as one of the top 3 pitchers in the league like we expected him to be during draft season. All right, now let's speed it back up a little. We have Junior Caminero, third baseman on the Rays. No panic whatsoever. I think the stadium change is hurting him some, just going from last year, one of the most hitter-friendly ballparks in minor league Steinbrenner Field, modeled after Yankee Stadium, to back to Tropicana, where hitters have struggled in the past. But I think that's being overblown. I think that actually makes him a buy low right now if someone in your league is actually panicking. I think the biggest thing that actually gives me some faith in Caminero moving forward is that pitchers are now respecting him a lot more. They're pitching him much more carefully. He's had one of the biggest drops in zone rate in the league, meaning he's seeing one of the greatest decreases in pitches literally in the strike zone for any hitter in baseball. And that makes sense because he's an elite power hitter. He has a pretty bad lineup around him. So pitchers are adjusting against him. And I like that he's adjusted in response by swinging much less. I do think it would serve him well to be a bit more selectively aggressive, get back and hunting pitches in the middle of the zone. But right now, no panic whatsoever. The same goes for Jazz Chisholm on the Yankees. I know there's probably some panic in general about his attitude, maybe not really knowing the rules. I know Yankees fans are really frustrated with him at the moment, but he's fine otherwise. Heavy swing and miss players like Jazz will always go through these very pronounced hot and cold streaks. He himself does this every year. In fact, this April is even better than how poor he played last April, if you guys remember that. And he also dealt with an oblique injury that took him through May, and then he got red hot in the second half. He's fine. Usually just draws a lot of walks, though. That kind of helps his floor be a bit more steady. Not doing that right now, but again, Jazz is fine. No panic whatsoever. Buy low. Then we have Nick Kurtz. A similar ethos here to Junior Caminero. I think the league is just simply being much more careful with Kurtz because they know how good of a hitter he is. Like, check out this chart, which was every single pitch he saw in the Athletics Sunday game against the Mets that they actually won 1-0 solely from a Kurtz home run. They're keeping the ball away from him. They're trying not to make a mistake. They already made the mistake early in the game, and that was the only one they gave up in its entirety. Similar to Caminero, like I said at the top, he's seen one of the biggest decreases in pitches in the zone of any hitter in the league this year, and now it's just him adjusting to that, figuring out when now to be selectively aggressive and understanding what pitchers are trying to do to him. Also, just an aside for all A's hitters in general, at the time of recording this video, they had played 12 road games and 5 home games. One of the reasons we all liked A's hitters so much coming into the season was because how hitter-friendly Southern Park in Sacramento was, and they just haven't played there enough to really make that worthwhile. So I'm buying A's at the moment. I think that as those home and road games level out, as Kurtz gets more comfortable with what pitchers are trying to do, he's going to explode like we all expected. Next, we have another first baseman, Pete Alonso. This is one of the first ones I'm genuinely actually worried about. And that's mostly because his bat speed is down 2 ticks compared to last season, where at the same time, his swing is slightly longer. Oftentimes, when hitters' bat speed goes down, you can look at their swing length, and you would see their swing length got shorter as well, because if it's taking you less time to move your bat through the zone, you're generating less force, so that makes sense. The longer swing and a slower swing, that tells me there's a little bit of physical decline here possibly, which is terrifying. And I'm also wondering, as he's opened up his stance a little bit compared to his whole career, who's a very closed-off hitter, that's him understanding the bat speed is slower, trying to open up a little bit more, and get a little better at that pitch recognition. Also right now has an attack direction that's to the opposite field on average, which is not bearing very good results with the decreased bat speed, and in turn, hitting the ball less hard. Also, maybe there's some pressing going on. He's swinging, missing more. He's striking out more, not hitting for as much power. But again, if that's all actually tied to the bat speed and not just him pressing, I'd be horrified. He's still fine objectively, but I don't know how much Pete Alonso returns that draft day cost, and the first year of a 5-year contract, I bet there's some real worry inside the Orioles building. Next up, we have Logan Webb, who a really bad start on opening night against the Yankees is really dragging his ERA down. He's fine objectively, there's no panic, but I don't know how much he's going to return his draft day cost. I talked about this a lot in the starting pitching preview this year, but Logan Webb is undergoing some strikeout rate regression right now, and I don't think that's going to be something that pops back to last year's levels. Mostly because last year against right-handed batters, his strikeout rate jumped up to 28% when it was 18% the year prior. Right now, in a relatively small sample, but something that's still kind of formative, it's 21%. So again, much closer to where that strikeout rate against right-handed batters was 2 years ago compared to last year when it kind of jumped out of nowhere. But weirdly, the thing that actually gives me some hope that strikeout rate will continue to trend up against righties is that he's not missing many bats with a sweeper. Seems like he's just not as comfortable locating it right now. So I do think that strikeout rate will trend up some, but not all the way to where it was last year, which is why, again, I was a little lower on him than the consensus, and was where I think he'll still wind up by the end of the season. Still a good pitcher, though. No panic. Gotta have another panic one right here. It's Edwin Diaz. Don't call me a Mets homer because I'm panicking about the 2 former Mets, but Edwin Diaz's velocity is down. It's down big time. The Dodgers have been very weird about it. On average, it's 2 miles per hour slower than it was last year, and it's over a full tick slower than it even was last April. So it's hard to call this shaking off the rust, because last year, even where he began, this is significantly lower. He blew a really ugly save against the Rangers on Friday night, and the way the Dodgers and Dave Roberts have talked about Edwin Diaz, making him unavailable, then he's throwing a bullpen, he's not available in the real games. It's a very weird situation. The panic is relative to his draft day cost, where if you guys were in high-stakes leagues, he was being drafted near Mason Miller, who looks like the best closer ever right now. And Edwin Diaz kind of is lagging behind a lot of the closers that were drafted just after them in their tier, like Cade Smith and Yohan Duran. So again, I just don't know if Edwin Diaz can return #1 overall closer value, and that's kind of arguably where he was drafted. Then another one who I'm kind of panicking about, Cal Raleigh. This was just something where we knew Raleigh was never going to be able to do what he did last year. He was kind of drafted relatively close to that, which always scared me, but it feels like he's just kind of chasing that high of the player he was, the MVP caliber season. It kind of reminds me of that meme that you see on Twitter of the dog who got a sip of the Dr. Pepper, then it looks like he's going to be thinking about how great that tasted for the rest of his life. Because right now, Raleigh is swinging for the moon. He's holding the bat really tight. His chase rate's way up. His whiff rate's way up. His own swing is still really good, but his own contact is way down. He's just marrying a lot of really, really bad plate discipline outcomes right now. He will heat up, but it's just never going to be like last year. We probably get something more like 330 on base percentage, 35 home run Cal Raleigh. And again, that's fine. It's a great player, but not what you draft him to be this year. Then we have Francisco Lindor, who will pop up on these lists every single season because, like Julio Rodriguez and Jazz Chisholm, Francisco Lindor is a terrible baseball player in April. It's really annoying. I don't know why it happens, but it happens every single season. I don't know if it's preparation. I don't know if it's the cold. I don't know what it is, but he looks lost right now. But this happens every single April, then he gets okay. During his Mets career, look at this table of his splits for March and April versus the rest of every season. It's honestly funny how much worse he is in these months than he is the rest of the year, but also legitimately encouraging. Under the hood, Francisco Lindor actually looks great right now, even better than he did last year. His bat speed is up on both sides of the plate by over a full mile per hour, which is kind of nuts considering how many cold weather games the Mets have played. And his swing decisions are great. The guy's totally fine, cleaned up the mental mistakes. he'll be great again. Next up, we have Wyatt Langford, who I still believe will be a very solid player this season, but I'm panicking relative to at least my expectations on him of taking a superstar leap. He was drafted in the same range, or actually a good bit ahead of a guy like James Wood, who's surging past him and taking that superstar leap right now. But all the things I thought about Wyatt Langford trying to kind of fine-tune his bat path and marry two good approaches separately from each of the last 2 seasons, he's done the opposite. And just to explain what I mean by that, 2 seasons ago, Wyatt Langford had a much faster bat speed, but a much flatter bat path. Last year, he decreased his bat speed, but increased his swing tilt and lift he was getting on the ball. So last year, he had the same power output as the season before, despite swinging less hard and having theoretically less raw power. So I thought, again, ooh, let's marry that bat speed with this bat path. We're going to have a monster here. Langford's done the exact opposite. He's now taken the low bat speed from last season with the flatter bat path from the season before. So in turn, he's lifting less, he's pulling the ball less, and he doesn't have as much raw power. Don't like that combination. Kind of scared about that. And I think he's another guy that's pressing. The swing decisions have been bad to start, especially relative to his career averages. He's really expanding the zone. That's unlike him. He had that little quad injury that popped up. Not a super big deal, but kind of holding my breath on Langford right now, and I'm starting to think I overdrafted him in a lot of places. Another one I'm panicking a bit about, Kyle Bradish. I waited actually a few extra hours to record this video because I wanted to watch him pitch at noon on Wednesday, and he did not have a very good start. He did get burned a little bit by some bad defense. A triple that should have been caught wasn't caught. First, the runs were unearned. Then they rescored it. They wound up all being earned. Darn shame. But in that, there were some pretty horrifying velocity gradients for Bradish in that start, mainly on his four-seam fastball, which at the beginning of the game was sitting around 97 miles per hour, and by the 4th and 5th inning, it was down near 91 miles per hour. I do not like seeing that. I do not like seeing that shift. And that also underscores a big reason I'm more down on Bradish now compared to a month ago. That fastball just hasn't really been there this season. It was a huge driver of his success late last season. The reason I thought there was going to be a huge ace leap coming. He got that pitch's movement more in check. It was less of an extreme cut fastball, just a little bit of a cut fastball, and he got more hop on it, more action, more vertical ride. In that, he was just much more consistent in locating the pitch. This season, it's not like that at all. He's lost a lot of vertical action. It's cutting way more. It's been more consistent in movement, in command, in velocity. The pitch is just all over the place. It's caused him to be much less efficient early on. The Orioles have also held him up around 85 pitches in a lot of his starts, so a lot of things just working against Bradish compared to where his draft day cost was. Stacking some more panic here, Pete Crow Armstrong. Panic. I've been telling you guys all along that Pete Crow Armstrong was a bit of an overrated fantasy baseball player. The stolen bases are still going to help Bowie's value. He's going to get red hot again. But this is a guy that's much more similar to someone like Michael Harris than someone like James Wood. There's too much swing and miss. There's too bad of an approach at the plate. There's too much frustration that seems to be boiling over into his at-bats. And that frustration, he's kind of taking into the field with him too. Not been as stout there. We're basically just going on 400 plate appearances from Pete Crow Armstrong, evidenced here by this Eric Cross tweet, where he's been one of the worst hitters in baseball. It will turn around, but you just don't want to deal with these hot and cold stretches from a player that was drafted that highly. Now here's a weird one, Roman Anthony. The stats aren't that bad, but again, they're not that flashy for fantasy, so I still wanted to include him here. And in doing research for this video, he also popped on some of that zone rate research, and not in a good way. So far this season, Roman Anthony is seeing the 21st highest rate of in-zone pitches of any hitter in the league. So that's telling me two things. One, pitchers really respect his eye. They know how rare it is for Roman to expand the strike zone. But two, means they're also not that afraid of him. They're willing to challenge him in the strike zone. He's not really doing a ton with that so far, especially because while he's seeing this many pitches in the strike zone more than last season, he's maintained that passivity. Roman Anthony probably could be better served by offering him more pitches in the zone, bring that swing rate up just a touch. Because right now, he's one of the lowest zone swing rates in the league. Of course, that goes with the low overall swing rate, but Roman, you still make great quality of contact. You sting the ball, get after it, get some hits. I do expect to swing around. The quality of contact is too good. The selectivity is still too good, despite I want it to be more aggressive. But just keep an eye on this Roman Anthony, and also keep an eye on the fact that right now, him and Jarren Duran are both kind of sharing a platoon spot in the Red Sox outfield, to Don Rafael as well, while Wilyer Abreu has become the everyday guy. So I'm going to talk more about that a little later on, but that's just something to keep an eye on. That Roman Anthony has had a couple just regular off days so far this season, which I do not like. Now here's a former Red Sox, Rafael Devers. Relative panic here. Just feels like that San Francisco Giants lineup, ballpark, team situation is kind of eating him alive. Plus, there's a very scary bat speed trend developing for Devers. He's never been an elite bat speed guy, but he's always been a good bat speed guy. But right now, it's decently below the league average. The distribution also looks very weird, so it could be a small sample thing of this bat speed, or this could be some bad coaching, telling Rafael Devers to have way more B swings or even C swings, trying to shorten up. I don't want to judge, but it seems like something Tony Vitello would be telling a guy like Devers. Wrongfully. I want this guy to hit for power. Right now, he's not. I'm a little bit panicked. Here's one of my guys I'm panicking a little bit about, just a little bit, Yuri Perez. I was very aggressive with him in my preseason rankings. I was very aggressive with him in every single draft I had. So if you guys took him, I'm right there with you right now, worried about this cold start. And the whole nexus of that was just kind of anticipating that he'd rise up a command grade this year. He'd be better, he'd be more comfortable, 1 year removed from Tommy John. Now that he got all of his new secondary pitch movements under his belt, that just simply hasn't happened. Really what's happened, he's continued to be very dependent on his four-seam fastball, and he can't locate that very well either. So either he falls behind the count and then has to throw the pitch in the strike zone, or he's just leaving that pitch a little bit too over the middle of the plate. Some things I still do like about Yuri is that he's flashed a new color that looks really, really nice. The secondaries are all good, but again, he just doesn't really know where they're going. It's just about him finding another command notch. I'm going to do a new re-rank of my top 50 or 75 starting pitchers right at the beginning of May. As of right now, he'd still be in my top 30. I'm wavering a little bit, but again, we're holding steady, we're holding a line. We haven't seen enough Yuri Perez yet. Once that command does tick up a little bit, I think he can easily be a top 15 pitcher in baseball. I'm sticking with that. Now, here's a fun one. Connor Griffin of the Pirates. I still have a lot of faith in Connor Griffin, but I'm worried about some of the Pirates' messaging around him. The fact that they went publicly to the media or let it leak, the fact that if they think he was overwhelmed by just the major league game, they're willing to send him back down, even though he's already signed a huge extension. And the fact that he got his scheduled off day on Wednesday, again, just some weird feelings. Also acknowledging the at-bats are moving fast for Connor Griffin right now. He's still flashing all the tools, but there's big swing and miss. There's a lot of strikeouts. That probably could lead to, even if he does get hot, to, again, similar to some other guys I've mentioned, some inconsistent results over the course of a few weeks or a few months. Just remember, we're still shooting for that Bobby Witt Jr. rookie season. We want 20 home runs, 30 stolen bases, a 250 average, and a 295 on-base percentage. I think that's all still very much in play for Connor Griffin, but he needs the game to slow down a tad. And if he gets sent down, that would be panic. That would be a disaster. Next up, we have Josh Naylor. This one I'm not panicking about. He loves big cold streaks and then supernova hot streaks. That's the kind of player Josh Naylor is. That's the kind of approach he has with not being very selective and loving putting his bat on the ball. Nothing in the profile says he's any different right now, so no panic with Josh Naylor. Then we got Tyler Soderstrom. My son, I love Soderstrom. He'd be right now one of the worst qualified hitters in baseball, if not for a 2-home run explosion against my Mets last Saturday. But at the same time, I'm not really worried about Athletics in general because of how pronounced of a home-road game difference they've had so far and how great their home ballpark is for hitting. But also, it looks like Soderstrom is kind of experimenting with a new approach, so it might just be him trying to get comfortable doing so. It looks like he's trying to pull the ball more. For the first time in his career, his attack direction is to the pull side. For the first time in 2 years, he looks like he's trying to really get out in front of the plate and go attack the ball. He also has a slightly slower swing tilt right now, so just like his swing direction vertically, but it's also very early. That might just be noise or the types of pitchers he's faced. Nothing in the profile really says something is wrong, so it's full steam ahead with Soderstrom. Then we got Geraldo Perdomo. A little bit panicked about this one just because with his type of profile, not a lot of raw power, all contact, you're really prone to cold streaks, and you could be really prone to what's going on with him right now, where the hits aren't falling because you're just not swinging hard enough to really get one past the defense. Right now, so far this season, Geraldo Perdomo's had 0 fast swings, and a fast swing, as per Baseball Savant, is an individual swing with a bat speed of at least 75 miles per hour. He's done that 0 times this year. He didn't do that a ton last year. It's about 5% of the time, but not doing it all through about 3 weeks of play, it's kind of terrifying. And again, that's the fear with him. His swing decisions are still great. His plate discipline is still great. His contact rate is still great, but he's not making meaningful enough contact to actually hit his way out of this. So I'm scared with no thump. We just go back to 5 home run, 25 stolen base Perdomo with a high on base percentage. It's not what we drafted him for. I'm panicked. Then we get Emmett Sheehan, someone else whose praises I was singing early in the season. And if I would have recorded this video last week, I would have been full-blown panicked because his velocity was down at the end of spring training. And it was down through his first 2 starts of the season. But thankfully, over the weekend, his velocity popped back up. It went from 94 in his first start, just under 94 in his second start, to 95 in that third start. And in that third start, he got through 6 innings. He only allowed 3 runs. He got 6 strikeouts. He was missing bats. This looked more like the Sheehan we saw last season and I expected this season. So I'm still kind of worried. I need to see this velocity trend continue, but I'm much less panicked right now than I was 5 days ago. Next up, we have Salvador Perez, very similar to Josh Naylor. He's just a guy that has big cold streaks than big hot streaks. That's the nature of the chaotic approach that he has. But at the same time, I feel less confident in Salvador Perez at 35 years old, bouncing back, snapping back like he always has. I still won't believe it's over until I actually see it being over for Perez, especially because his bat speed still looks good. His bat-to-ball stuff still looks good. He's still hitting fourth every single day for the Royals when he's not catching. He's a designated hitter. But again, 35 years old, our alarm bells have to just be a little bit more sensitive to guys like this. Similar to alarm bells being sensitive, I'm kind of panicked about Bo Bichette. This might be my Mets fandom working against me, and everything statistically right now is telling me that he will get hot again. Another guy with a relatively chaotic approach. He thrives on bat-to-ball success, so there are hot streaks and cold streaks that are very natural to Bichette's game. But there was that weird report that surfaced over the weekend that his PCL injury from last season may not be fully healed. He's not running well at all. His swing mechanics were also kind of wonky, but they're really a lot back together now. I'm just going to chalk this whole thing up to the team playing poorly, him trying to get settled in, having a lot of pressure on him with that big contract, and this will work itself out. But I will admit, it looks really bad. And even as a guy in Bo Bichette who doesn't often pull lifted balls, he only has 2 batted balls this entire season with at least a 10-degree launch angle that were pulled. That's just not enough. You need to do more than that. You have to pull the ball a little bit more if you want to have any success in the power department. I trust Bo Bichette. I'm not panicked, but like deep down, I am kind of panicked. Still got a bunch of guys left. We're going to start going more rapid fire now. Nathan Eovaldi, not panicked at all. He's a splitter first pitcher. Splitters are a very inconsistent pitch in nature. I hear Nick Pollock chirping in my ear about this one as I was writing it. I also honestly love from Eovaldi that he's fading his four-seam fastball more. He's got more sinker heavy against right-handed batters, more cutter heavy against left-handed batters. I'm buying low at the moment, but also acknowledging the injury concerns Eovaldi always has. Then we got Vinny Pasquantino. I'm a little bit more panicked about him than I thought I would be when I started doing the research for this video. The bat speed is just way down. He has shortened his swing a little bit, but I don't know why Vinny Pasquantino is willing to sacrifice power for more contact. That was kind of his superpower anyway. I'm just going to say this is caffeine withdrawals from the World Baseball Classic, but I am a little concerned seeing him get beat this badly by fastballs early on. Then probably the biggest panic guy in this whole video, Tatsuya Imai. Big, blinking panic. I would drop Tatsuya Imai in almost every single kind of fantasy league right now. You had bad results early. You've had bad command. I always questioned how well the repertoire would transition from Japan to the major leagues. Now you've got the arm fatigue. You've got the personal stuff. You have him going through 3 interpreters already since coming over to the States in early January. This is a horrible situation right now. I would be freaking out if I was the Astros. I would be upset if I drafted Imai early in drafts. It means you probably weren't listening to me if you drafted Imai early. That's neither here nor there, but huge panic on Tatsuya Imai. Another one, Jarren Duran. Panic, panic, panic. Not really hopeful in Jarren Duran right now. He, like I said with Roman Anthony, have kind of become the platoon guys rather than Wilyer Abreu, who's played every single day this season. Duran's had 2 little off days this year and a weird schedule wrinkle. The Red Sox have only faced 2 left-handed pitchers to this point, so they're finding off days for Duran against righties. His swing is longer. He's swinging and missing a ton. It seems like he's pressing. He had that incident with a fan the other day, which I kind of respect Duran for acting in that way, but still, you kind of want to be able to block out everything's happening off the field when you're on the field. It's just a really weird situation. Panic. Changing tones here. Bubba Chandler. No panic. This is my guy. I'm going full steam ahead with Bubba Chandler. You guys have been in the comments saying, should I drop Bubba Chandler? Should I sell low Bubba Chandler? No. Keep Bubba Chandler. Buy low on Bubba Chandler. You can't teach his fastball. This guy's an animal. I think right now, and I tweeted this a few weeks ago, he's kind of the embodiment of like a Monster energy drink. If it spawned arms and legs, that's how he pitches. Fastballs, high above the zone, amped up. I think he's just too amped up right now. He's missing a lot with that pitch. The zone rate's abysmal on his fastball, but I think as he settles in, takes a deep breath, realizes he's here, he has a rotation spot all to himself, he'll figure that out. I'm also encouraged about a few of the things happening under the hood pitch mix wise for Chandler. First of all, that fastball has gained another inch of life, of lift, where at the same time, his changeup has added an inch of depth. So better vertical separation on those pitches, I think can make them both better, especially as he attacks left-handed batters. His arm angle is also a little bit up compared to last year. That's why the pitch has more raw induced vertical break, but at the same time, he's getting a little bit more natural cut on that. So I think that fastball is just going to be better once he can zone it a little bit more. And he's showed off a new sweeper. Pitch looks okay. Just another weapon to add to the toolbox. I still love Bubba Chandler. Here's what I'm a little scared about, though. Jack Caglione. I feel like he's pressing. I feel like he feels the pressure. I feel like he's a little bit scared of his spot in the team right now just because he's not swinging at the right pitches as much as he was last season, which is one of the reasons that I was always hopeful for the Caglione turnaround this year. He's another guy, one of the biggest zone rate risers in all of baseball this year. So I think pitchers know that they just kind of are confusing him at the moment. At the same time, his swing is way longer. He's swinging and missing way more. He's not getting out in front of the ball and trying to drive it in the same way. I think he needs to take a deep breath. I think we all need to take a deep breath with Caglione. There's probably some very shallow leagues where I'd consider dropping him at the moment. Any 12-team league, no consideration whatsoever. Just got to give it a little bit more time. Now Michael Busch. Panic, 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 panic. I was terrified last season when he made so many gains in his quality of contact without any gains whatsoever in his bat speed or his pitch selection or anything like that. Right now, he's been terrible. I don't think he's as bad as he is right now. I also don't think he was as good as he was last year. That's totally fine, but now you just kind of have to approach him in that sense. Then Luis Castillo and the Mariners. It's kind of hard to watch a pitcher who was this good for so long fade in this way, but he's just a home streamer now. He really shouldn't be a must-roster player in most leagues. I don't know what's happened to the feel of his changeup. He's not even going to it anymore, not even against lefties. Again, sad for a veteran pitcher to kind of fall down like this, but I think in the right starts at home, he'll still be valuable. Still rolling here, we got Luke Chisholm. Seems like he made a swing change this year. He elongated his swing to try and hunt for more bat speed and find more power. He's not finding much more power, but also he's not swinging and missing any more than he did last year. So I think just keep playing it out with Chisholm. At some point, the contact will turn into more hits. He'll be some hot, some cold. Next, we have Kodai Senga. I was really hopeful about him after the first 2 starts. I'm panicking after the last one because we saw his velocity trickle down to the 91, 92 mile per hour range, even when he had 5 days between starts, which has always been a kind of a fickle issue for Senga. So I'm a little scared, but it's really just going to be about where his velocity is his next start, because velocity is very, 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 very important to him, like with this tweet of mine you can see on the screen. Then we have Alex Bregman. I'm scared Wrigley Field's just kind of getting the better of him right now. It's one of the most difficult parks for right-handed batters to find success in, and that's kind of happening in Bregman right now. It happened to Isaac Paredes a few years ago. I also really hate seeing him have one of the highest zone rates in the whole league. That just tells me that pitchers aren't that afraid of him, and he's not making them pay thus far. Another bad one, Brian Abreu. Panic, panic, panic. He's walked over a third of the hitters he's faced this season. I'm pretty sure he's thrown more balls and strikes in general. He looks horrific. The Astros look horrific right now. There's a decent track record here of a lot of success, but this looks like an emerging fiasco. Now here we have Samuel Basallo, another one of my sons. I'm still trusting, but there are some slight worrying signs. His swing is longer than it was last season, but he also does not have more bat speed. That concerns me a lot, especially when the approach stuff says it looks like he's looking for more pull side power, but he's not catching up to the ball enough to actually do so. I think that right now may be him as a young player pressing, just being a little bit out of control. Just like I said with Caglione, Basallo might need to take a deep breath. He's also being pitched much more carefully, but he's responding well to it by being more selective. So I actually like that adjustment he's made under the hood. And he's still hitting the ball incredibly hard. So I'm hopeful about all of that. But pressing, Sammy Basallo, take a deep breath, settle in, big fella. I also hate that Adley Rutschman's on the injured list because Basallo has struggled a bit defensively behind the plate. I like Rutschman getting most of the starts there, so Basallo can just kind of focus on hitting. Feels like, again, game's moving fast for him. A few more quick ones left. We got Jacob Marcy. It just last year was so hot when he came up. It was going to be very hard to sustain that. And it feels like he really is trying to make a pronounced approach change at the moment. It's not really working out that well. The biggest thing that he has a much longer swing, but not a faster swing. And everything under the hood about his approach says he's looking for a lot more pull side power. He has been lifting a lot more pulled balls this year. I guess that's okay. But without really tremendous raw power, not turning into much in Marlins Park, it was always going to be hard for Marcy to stand up to how blazing hot he started his career last year. And it's honestly nice right now. The stolen base are really booing his value. At the time of recording, he's the most stolen bases in the National League. But seems like a big approach change is kind of making him out of whack at the plate. He's a much flatter swing in terms of his swing tilt. He's trying to jump out in front and make a lot more contact way out in front of the plate compared to last season, not waiting back as much on the ball, using his great pitch recognition to his advantage. He is pulling the ball more and he's lifting it a lot more, but it's not really advantageous contact. It's kind of too lazy of pulled fly balls. It's not really worth it at the end of the day. But at the same time, he's not whiffing much more. So I think that's just him right now, just getting under the ball, just kind of missing something in his bat path. I feel like the sprayed line drives, waiting back on the ball was a superpower last year. I kind of wish he'd get back to that. We'll see. But I'm watching him very closely moving forward. Now, quick one, Trevor Story. I mean, I guess panic. You knew Trevor Story had some of the worst plate discipline in baseball. You knew he had one of the most inconsistent profiles in all of baseball. If this was happening to him in the middle of the season, you wouldn't notice how little he's walking and how much he's striking out. Right now, it's glaring, though. But again, relative panic because it could just be over for Trevor Story any second. And I got to mention my guy, Jack Flaherty, TDS, turbo, dog shit. A lot of you guys jumped in my comments last video. I didn't know TDS had another meaning. Apologize for that one. Sorry for scaring some of you guys, but Jack Flaherty just objectively sucks. Get him off your teams. And then Carson Benj on the Mets. He went through a big swing change this offseason. Nobody knows why. He's not catching up velocity. He looks horrific at the plate. I think he's going down to the minors. The second the Mets get healthier, he's someone that should not be on any fantasy teams at the moment besides dynasty leagues. But thank you guys so much. For the players, want to help you know if you should panic about them or not. Long video. It's so hot in my office right now because it's so hot in New York. You guys can see me sweating through this whole thing. I just don't want to put my air conditioning unit in the wall yet because it's like about to get cold in 2 more days. So I don't want to put that big intrusive thing like right in the back of this recording. It will be there by the time the summer gets going, but I want to hold off right now while it's still spring. But thank you guys so much. Remember, subscribe to the channel. Memberships for personalized advice. I'll see you this weekend for the waiver wire video. Thanks so much.